Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We appreciate you taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. And we could not be any prouder or excited to welcome Lilly King. Lilly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
Obviously, anybody who knows anything about Indiana University or sports in general knows who Lilly King is now. First of all, what is that like going from being a little girl from Evansville to the world knowing who Lilly King is?
It was kind of weird at first. You know, it's kind of what I always wanted to happen. You know, you're a little kid, you always want to be famous. But it was strange when it happened just because it was so sudden for me. It was really quite overnight that I guess acquired this fame that I now have. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I roll with it, and I'm not too famous. I still can blend in with the crowd, so it's not too bad.
When did the thought of the Olympic dream become a reality? This is something I can possibly do. When did that first set in with you?
I was probably about 16. I had just won junior nationals, and I broke the national age group record, which was essentially the American record for the 16 and under age group. And I think that was kind of the moment I realized that, hey, like maybe, you know, I swam faster than all the other people did before me, so maybe I can, maybe I can make the Olympic team. So it was pretty early on, I'd say.
And how does a girl from Evansville, Indiana, become an internationally recognized face, a gold medalist at 19? You were 19, and I'm looking at that going, today, I don't know that I can handle that.
Yeah, I worked my butt off, and just, my mindset was just keep beating the next person, beat the next person, and then, luckily I ran out of people, so, yeah.
Well, speaking of running out of people, what's it like replacing Don Mattingly as the most famous person from Evansville?
I wouldn't say I'm more famous than Don Mattingly, but if people are saying that, I guess that's pretty satisfying.
When did the Olympic dream go from not just a dream to becoming a reality? When you do realize, hey, I am in this and I have a legit shot here.
Yeah, I think it was probably the morning of my prelim race at the Olympics. Actually, I was surprisingly calm. Going into trials and even at trials and before we got to the Olympics, I was like, okay, it's fine. Like, I'm supposed to be here. It's just another swim meet. And then I think the morning of my prelim race of the 100 breaststroke, I kind of was like, oh God, wait, I'm at the Olympics. Like, this is real. But it hit me real late.
How do you deal with nerves at such a stage? We're not talking about just some meet at Evansville High School or Wrights or Memorial or wherever. This is the stage. There's no bigger stage in the world ever. How do you deal with nerves in a situation like that?
I really just thrive on the pressure. So if I'm nervous, that's good. Probably the more nerves I have or the more pressure that's on, the better I'm going to swim. So I definitely thrive in those pressure-filled situations.
You become this instant sensation with your success at Rio, with your confidence that you just talked about, even though I guess you used your nerves to use that confidence, but also the finger wag and all of that. And all that stuff just comes full circle with all that attention. Were you expecting that, ready for that?
I wasn't ever even planning on speaking out against doping. But it all kind of happened, and I don't quite think I realized the magnitude of it until I probably got home from the Olympics. Because, when you're at the Olympics, you're kind of, you're very sheltered, and you kind of just do your normal routine. You swim, you go back and eat, and then you sleep, then you go back and swim. So I don't think I quite realized that everybody knew what I did at the moment. It was crazy.
And it had nothing to do with bravado or any of that. It was all about the thing you just talked about. It was about doping. And I know that is a very, very important thing to you. Talk about the importance of that.
Yeah, it's so sad that I even have to say that, we have to take a stand against doping, because why should I? It should be real, that cheating is bad. Like, why do I have to say that? But I think a lot of people are kind of afraid about the consequences of what they might do if they speak out or take a stance on something, but that's just not me. So I thought I was wrong, so I said something, and here we are.
And becoming as successful as you did, winning gold medals, does that become a responsibility, an unwanted but a necessary responsibility of those of you in the sport who succeed to be that person that holds that torch against the anti-doping?
Yeah, definitely. the people who are on top have the voice, and people listen to us. We have the platform. So, and I've experienced it firsthand, being beaten by Doper, and I've had friends who have missed out on Olympic finals, friends who have, missed out on medals. And it when you're a professional athlete, that's your livelihood. And if people aren't, doing it the right way, it can really, really ruin some people's lives. So, it's just sad to see that it's still happening. But if I need to be the person to say something, I will be.
Will it ever get better?
I hope so. Not recently, a couple months ago, I actually went to DC to go to this White House anti-doping summit, which was pretty cool to see. We just had a lot of representatives from delegations around the world, anti-doping representatives and athlete representatives from several countries. When we kind of got together and spoke about, what's wrong, like what can we fix about, doping right now and with the World Anti-Doping Agency. So it was pretty cool to see that come together, and hopefully we can get something done.
And we talked about, going from a girl in Evansville to the grand stage of the Olympics. Now we're talking about the White House. Yeah. Does it continue to say, wait a minute, is this really happening?
That one was crazy to me. I got a text like, hey, you want to come to the White House for this thing? I'm like, wait, what? Like, you don't just get invited to the White House, So presenting that to my coaches was interesting. Hey, can I miss practice tomorrow? Where do you go? I'm going to the White House. Oh, wait, what? But yeah, it's still crazy to see the things that I'm able to do because of my athletic status. So it's pretty fun.
Talk about going to the White House. What was the most surreal or the coolest thing about being in the White House? I mean, you're a normal American like the rest of us, but you're not normal because you're invited into the White House.
Yeah, that's the second time I've been there. So first time I went, we actually, got to meet President Obama, and they invite the whole Olympic team. So that was it's incredible. Just like, I'm a total history junkie. So like, I'm walking around, I'm like, do you know who stood here? Like, do you know what that is? So, just like being in the White House is just so cool in general. And then you get to meet the president on top of that. So that's just even crazier. But yeah, it's pretty wild.
And you talk about being a history buff. You could have gone pro instantly and took the dollars and gone on, but you didn't. You came back to school to Indiana University. It seemed like that was pretty important to you.
Yeah, definitely. At the time, swimmers weren't really going pro before they finished their eligibility. So I figured, I might as well stick around and get my degree, because there's absolutely no way I would have finished school if I had gone pro. I just never would have gone back. So I think that was a big thing for me, was, getting my degree and finishing school. And I also signed on to swim for IU for 4 years, and I didn't want to, take that away from my coaches and my team. So finishing out my season, my eligibility was pretty important to me.
If you look at a lot of other sports, most athletes don't have that take that I signed on for 4 years. I mean, that's refreshing, and it's a throwback to hearing an athlete say that. But how proud are you that you are in that ilk?
It's cool, and swimming is different because I'm still here. I'm still training with the team, and I will be for the next for however long I'm here, 4 years or whatever. But it's cool to see, and I'm proud of myself for being able to stay for 4 years and not being greedy and saying, oh, I can just go take the money, because that's not why I'm in the sport. That's not what it's about.
You talked about staying and how important that is, and stay you did. 8 NCAA championships, and more importantly, a Big Ten championship for Indiana, the first in 7 years. Mm-hmm. Talk about the importance of that to you.
Really this year was just kind of the icing on the cake for me. In terms of not going pro, I wanted to go 8 for 8. No one had ever done that before, in my event. So that was really important to me. And then to win the conference title was it was so cool. But I was actually, this is actually really kind of funny. I was looking back at the points, and they would have won if I hadn't even scored. So really they didn't even need me. But it was just an experience like I never had before. I'd never been on a winning team of any sort, club team, high school. We very rarely win dual meets even here. So, to see the girls pull out the win and do it at home was pretty cool.
Well, maybe you did affect them, whether they needed your points or not. Maybe it's because they knew Lilly King was in the water that they didn't. They're just like, hey, why are we even showing up here?
I don't know. Maybe.
And talk about history again. You've sewn yourself into the fabric of Indiana's athletic history, period. Not just swimming, but their Olympic history, and they have some great history. Some guy named Mark Spitz did kind of well here a long time ago.
Yeah, definitely. Fun fact, Mark Spitz and I have the same birthday. So one, I'll never be the most famous swimmer with my birthday, and two, I'll never be the most famous swimmer from Indiana, or most successful with my birthday. So that's kind of crazy. But
Well, you kind of on the same par right there, and it's pretty amazing.
I mean, we're both up on the wall at the pool now, which is pretty cool to see. Just because that's something I never even thought of when I was a little kid. Was my face being on the wall here.
How often do you see your gold medals?
Not often. I pull them out when I need them for an event or something, but they kind of hide in my closet usually.
And when you do that, when you say, I've got an event, they want me to bring the medal, so you go get those. But when you pull those back out and look at that and see the hard work, the being clean, being a clean athlete, competing against doping athletes and all that went with all that, what does that mean to you just to sit there and by yourself in your room, maybe your old bedroom at home, and you pull them out of the closet and you look at that? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. Honestly, I'm amazed at how heavy they are most of the time. I mean, they're so heavy, it's insane. But yeah, it's kind of cool just to sit back and be like, hey, like, you actually did it. But yeah,
Kinda cool.
I'm not usually the reflective type, so they usually just stay in the closet.
You go back now for another Olympics in 2020 in Tokyo. What haven't you achieved? That's a great question. What haven't you achieved that you want to achieve?
I don't have the world record yet in the 200 breaststroke, and I don't have an Olympic medal yet in the 200 breaststroke. So that's about all that's left for me. So we'll see.
Who are your inspirations, your idols, your heroes in sports? It didn't have to be swimming, but in swimming or whatever it was that really inspired you to do what you've done.
Yeah, I'd say early on it was Janet Evans, hands down, Janet Evans. She did a clinic in Mount Vernon when I was very young. I was probably 8. I was the slowest kid at camp, but I thought it was like the greatest thing ever. I thought she was so cool. But yeah, she was definitely the one who I'd say inspired me to swim the most, and she's the one I wanted to be like. So.
Have you met her?
Yeah, actually, she called me. She got word somehow that I was obsessed with her, like before the Olympics.
Okay, so when Janet Evans, your hero, calls you, first of all, what happens in that second when you realize that Janet Evans is calling me?
One, I didn't recognize the number, so I let it ring. 2, she leaves a message. She's like, hey, it's Janet. And I called my mom before I called her back. Called my mom, and I was actually like crying. I was like, Mom, like this. And I'm not like an emotional person, but in that one moment, I was like, Janet Evans just called me. Like, what do I do? But yeah, and then eventually I met her, and she's the coolest person ever. And her daughter swims breaststroke, so that's always fun. Get to talk to her and her daughter, and it's cool now that to think she's kind of like my friend.
Any chance you're going to be tutoring Janet Evans' daughter in the breaststroke?
I don't know. She's pretty speedy. She might be able to teach me a few things, so I don't know.
Well, the 2020 Olympics come up next, Tokyo, your next endeavor. What are you looking forward to? And how do you approach that now as someone who is a veteran, an Olympic champion? Yeah. It's a lot different than going there as a 19-year-old. You're a veteran now.
Yeah. I've just had so much more experience since then. I always say it was like, who let me go to the Olympics? But just kind of, I guess knowing what to do a little bit more. Like, I'm probably not going to be standing in line at McDonald's every session like I was in Rio, or walking around the village in the middle of the night because it's cool and it's fun. And I'd say probably just taking things a little more seriously than I did before.
Lilly, you're going back to Tokyo, to the Olympics of 2020. What are your goals there? You talked about you don't have some world records. Is that your goal, or just do you want to win gold medals in events you don't have yet, or just have fun and be an Olympian?
Yeah, I mean, winning is fun. So I'd say, I'm definitely going to have some fun. But I have an opportunity to win 4 gold medals. So I think that's the ultimate goal. It's pretty hard to set world records at the Olympics just because it's very unpredictable, I'd say. It's not like a world championships where you're staying in a hotel and, you don't really have to walk. But, at the Olympics, you're walking probably 5+ miles a day when you're trying to stay off your feet. And you don't really know what the food's going to be, and you don't know how traffic's going to be getting to the pool. So there are just a lot of unknowns at the Olympics. So if I could set a world record, that'd be great. But if not, I totally understand because of the circumstances. So shooting for 4 gold medals, though.
Are you expecting to have renewed rivalries with any particular people from any certain countries, like Russia or Singapore? Soviet Union, rather?
Probably. I wouldn't say that the rivalry isn't going to pick back up. It's the best rivalry in swimming, so might as
The
well
best
keep it
rivalries in sports.
going. Definitely.
Certainly got the ratings.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know me, I'm all about the ratings.
And what was that like to, again, I keep going back to this, but it's so much that you're at the Olympics now. You got NBC or whomever, Bob Costas and all these people that you probably grew up seeing on TV and like, this dude's talking to me?
Yeah.
What's that like for you?
It's weird. It's really weird. This is going to sound strange. It's weird hearing them say your name. It was just crazy. Like, I actually got in trouble the morning after I won, or 2 mornings after I went on Mike and Mike really early in the morning, and I was supposed to sleep in. And I got in huge trouble with my coaches because I did Mike and Mike, and I was like, I had to do it. Like, I couldn't just not do Mike and Mike. Like, they asked me to come on. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
What's next for you after the Olympics? After these next Olympics in Tokyo, is your competing done there, or what's next for Lilly King?
I'd say tentative end date for me is probably 2024. I'm shooting for Paris, and after that, I think I'm gonna hang it up. So we still got a while though. After that, I'm not totally sure. I do definitely want to stay in the swimming world and maybe do something for UC Swimming or run clinics. Eventually, I do want to get into teaching. I'm student teaching right now, so eventually, hopefully, I'll end up being a teacher at some point.
Okay, now you're student teaching. Where are you student teaching?
I'm at Bachelor Middle School right now.
Let's give him a shout out.
Yeah, go Bulldogs.
So here's Lilly King. What grade is it?
7th and 8th.
Okay, that's old enough that they're cognizant of who people are and what they have done. All right, I'm a 7th or I'm an 8th grader, and I'm sitting there, and an Olympic gold medalist comes in, and this is my teacher. Mm-hmm. That's got to be, they're in your position now. They're looking at you going like, what? Really? Huh? What's that like for you, having those faces look back at you as you were looking back at some of these other people?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Honestly, they don't care. Like, they're 14. They got other things to worry about than their student teacher being an Olympian. Some of the kids are into it, and some of them are like, they couldn't care less. So it's fun. My 6th period is like way more into me being an Olympian than all the rest of my classes are. So it really just depends on the kids. And, I think I still get treated like any other student teacher out there. So, but yeah, it's fun being in charge and not being the student for once.
What's the legacy you want to leave to Indiana? The legacy you want to leave as just an Olympic champion?
I mean, obviously legacy is, my world records or these times that are untouchable. I want to swim times that are untouchable. But I want people to remember that I, stood up for what I believed in, and, I just spoke my mind and I was myself. And I'd say that's definitely what I'm most proud of.
And do you want that to inspire other girls, or it doesn't have to be girls, but other girls to achieve the dreams that you chased and succeeded and caught?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that are like me that are, loud, sometimes obnoxious, a little cocky, and that's okay. I think a lot of times that's discouraged and that's considered unsportsmanlike, but that's sport. That's what it is, and I think it should be encouraged, and I think a lot of times it's not, which is kind of sad to me. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely a legacy I would like to leave behind.
Lilly King, I cannot thank you enough. It's an honor for us to have you here. Congratulations on all your success, and good luck in all your future success that I know you'll be having.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.